So full moon is in a couple of days, and I'm working on Motanka for exhibit. This is my usual pattern. Just leading up to the dark moon, I do Motanka and Ipasanka that will become gifts for the land and whatever ceremony I'm doing at that time. And then as I approach the full moon, I'm working on another set of Pisanka and Motanka. These ones are going to be held for exhibit. And I'm working on the exhibit one after the ceremony is complete, because I want the exhibit pieces to embody whatever it is that I encountered during the ceremony. So the ceremony was supposed to take place on a particular patch of forest where I was going to be introducing myself. And I was going to cross a field and go into that piece of forest, but for a lot of different reasons, that specific spot did not happen. I ended up inside the forest in an area I've done ceremony before. Call it the ridge, because there's a beautiful rock ridge that's there, and it's directly across from the patch of forest where I thought I would be doing ceremony. A lot of the signs were just simply pointing to not doing the ceremony in that particular patch that particular day, and probably with good reason, and I don't need to know what the reason is because I wasn't there. In any case, this particular Motanka is working with the energy of something called a Leshi or Lisovyk. I actually don't know how to say it properly, but Leshi is the easiest one. A Leshi is considered to be a protector of the forest, and the best way to actually describe a Leshi is to say that it is the spirit of the forest. So each patch of forest would be considered to have its own Leshi. But it doesn't acquire a Leshi automatically. The forest itself has to be at least 100 years old. The collective consciousness of all of the trees and plants and mycelium and insects and soil, etc., as it reaches a maturity of 100 years, begins to be conscious of itself, to be inspirited, to have a spirit. And anybody who's spent any significant amount of time in a forest can tell you that when you go into a forest that has a certain age, 100 years or more, you can feel it is alive and it is awake. Younger forests, they don't have that same sort of awareness of themselves. They may be awake, but not in the same way. You know, there's a whole mythology around the Leshi and how you need to approach the spirit of the forest. And I think that's really important to understand, whether you're talking about, you know, the Slavic concept of the spirit of the forest, the consciousness of it, or the indigenous peoples of the land you might be living on and or occupying. Likely there are going to be similarities in how one approaches a forest. You don't just assume to walk into the forest. You need to ask. Ask to enter the forest. I mean, imagine somebody just walking into your house, a stranger walking into your house. Would you do that? Without invitation? Probably not. So it's like that when you enter the forest. just as you're entering the forest, you announce who you are, your intention for being there, and you ask, is it okay that I'm here? So this Motanka is an embodiment of the spirit of that patch of forest. Even though I wasn't standing in it, I could still sense and feel it. And quite frankly, because the land itself is whole and continuous without boundary. Boundaries are just arbitrary, they're human inventions. So whether or not there's a corridor or a break in the forest, meaning there's the ridge, there's the trees next to the ridge, there's the field, and then there's the next patch of forest, it's arbitrary, me deciding that there's one patch of forest and another patch of forest. In essence, that whole piece of land is continuous. Even if there was a river or a stream that passes through it, it's still continuous. So I felt completely integral by introducing myself, by not being directly inside the trees I thought I would be standing inside of, because I knew well enough to pay attention to the signs and things that were happening that told me it's not time to stand inside that part of the forest. But I can address it and introduce myself to it from where I was at the ridge. And I laid out a biscuit that I had baked the day before as an offering to the Lisovyk. That's sort of a custom that is specific to Slavs. And as I laid it out, I put it on a tree stump, which felt appropriate to the protector of the forest. So when we do the kind of ceremonial making of these ritual objects, we do it in a way that's relational to, for me, the land that I'm honoring, the energy and the spirits that I'm honoring, and in this case, the spirit of the forest. This particular Motanka is not made to look like the spirit of the forest, but rather to embrace, honor, and in some way express the energies, not only of the spirit of the forest in this case, but also of the ceremony itself. You can see what she looks like so far. Not quite complete, but we're getting there.